Now this is our McCarty siding. Now McCarty siding there is occasionally used for two trains to pass here at the museum. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now crossing over our third and final bridge over Tunnel Boulevard. Now crossing over Tunnel Boulevard means that we are making our climb up Missionary Ridge. But rather than traveling over the ridge, we're going to be traveling through it, through the Missionary Ridge Tunnel. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the tunnel we're about to pass through was completed in 1858, dedicated in 1859, and was excavated entirely by a pick and shovel, as dynamite was not invented until 1867. So, in theory, folks, I guess you could say this tunnel construction would go off without a bang. Now, this tunnel is the reason the line would eventually be abandoned. After World War II, the railway's equipment was becoming much too large to fit in the pre-Civil War era tunnel. Therefore, a new line will be constructed just to the north, which bypasses Missionary Ridge altogether. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a flashlight app on your cell phone, I do encourage you to have those out at this time to illuminate the tunnel walls as we pass through them. Now, folks, at times there can be less than a foot of clearance between us and these tunnel walls. So if you're riding in Southern Railway number 1000, our open-air car, we do ask you to keep all hands, arms, feet, heads, husbands, wives, children, or in-laws inside the car at all times. Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard the 5-chime air horn of our locomotive, number 710, signaling our approach to the tunnel, meaning that we will be entering the tunnel walls at any moment. As the walls of the ridge grow ever so closer to our train, we're now approaching what I believe will be the best portion of our day. Ladies and gentlemen, no, it's not lunchtime. That's right, folks, it's tunnel time in Tennessee. 986 feet of pure history, it is the Missionary Ridge Tunnel. Once again, tunnel time in Tennessee. So have those flashlight apps out and ready to view the tunnel walls. It would have then taken at least 4 people to completely turn the table around. Now, folks, luckily enough for you, I'm not going to be asking for any volunteers today. Instead, we're going to be relying on the support of our flagman, Jonathan. Everybody say hi, Jonathan. Everybody say thank you, Jonathan. As Jonathan is going to be pushing 400,000 pounds all by himself. Well, not exactly all by himself. Today he's using a 25 horsepower electric motor. So what do you guys think? Are you guys ready to see Jonathan turn the locomotive on the turntable? Oh, I said, are you guys ready? All right, Jonathan, we're ready when you are. Now, the way they were able to turn this turntable by hand, and even the way we're able to turn it by motor today, is by ensuring that the table is balanced. Now, dead center of the turntable, there is a 6-foot in diameter ball bearing. Now, your engineer Brian must balance all 120 tons of the 710 over that little 6-foot ball bearing. Now, the way Brian knows he has his locomotive balanced on the turntable is to be watching the far end where I'm standing. Now, once the locomotive is centered on the turntable, you should see this end drop by about 3 inches. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we like to say here at the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum, once the table drops, Brian stops. So you may be watching this end very, very carefully now. Balance turntable, we can begin turning. Ladies and gentlemen, the locomotive today is the ex-Nashville Chattanooga St. Louis Railway, number 710. Now, the 710 here would have been built in 1950 by the Electromotive Division of General Motors. This locomotive would have been built for use on the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis Railway based out of Nashville, Tennessee. This locomotive would operate the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis Railway until the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis would be absorbed into the Louisville and Nashville railway system. Upon that merger, this locomotive would have been renumbered to L&N 1710. Now, the 1710 would continue to operate for the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis up until 1957. Now, in 1977. Now, in 1977, this locomotive would be involved in a head-on collision near Birmingham, Alabama, on the Louisville and Nashville. Now, upon this locomotive's accident, it would be total, never to see Louisville and Nashville rails again. Now, this locomotive would be purchased by Amtrak. It would be rebuilt from a GP7 locomotive into a GP9. And this transformation would add an additional 250 horsepower to the locomotive. But the locomotive is still a GP9 today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we stand on our locomotive up with track number 2, while our train sits on track 1. That is so we can perform what is known as a runaround.